What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/StoriesAboutKevin. Alright, last time or the time before that, we read a story called My Dad is a Kevin by Apropro. Ha, that's appropriate. And so this week we're reading a story called My Dad is a Kevin Part 2. I don't know how French people say their twos. After posting my first stories about my dad, I called my mom up to let her know how much you love the stories. She asked, "Oh, did you tell them about X or Y or Z?" And then she told me a few more stories which were new to me, so here I am again to share more stories of Chief Kevin the Kite. While my father was a firefighter for Canadian Air Force, my mother was an MP. One day she got a call about some idiot flying a box kite on the airbase, causing air traffic to be diverted. Lo and behold, it was her boyfriend and future husband. Here is the condensed conversation.
"Kevin, what the heck are you doing?"
"Look, OP's mom, I finally got the box kite to fly." That's Canadian to me.
"Kevin, we're on a freaking airfield. Get that kite down right this instant or so help me."
Dad wasn't in trouble because they knew he was gonna get a stern talking to from Mom when she got home. A dog walks into a mess one night. My parents had a husky before they had kids. This dog, we'll call him Togo, was a very, very good boy. But because he was a husky, he was noisy, stubborn as hell, and could follow his nose better than Toucan Sam. That sentence was art. One day, Dad brought Mom outside to show that Togo could be trusted off the leash and off lead because he trained him to recall at the sound of their Jeep horn. To demonstrate, he let him off lead to roam around, and sure enough, he began to return at the sound of the Jeep horn. That is, until he smelt something in the air. Not just anything. Steak. AAA Alberta beef steak. Coming from the officer's mess. Togo took off like a bolt of lightning, let himself into the mess, put his front paws on the first table he got to, even though he knew it was a no-no at home, and began to sing for his supper. My dad had to ask permission to enter the mess to retrieve his dog, unwilling to leave until he got some steak. My dad, the horse whisperer. My mother convinced my dad that horses in trailers can hear you if you are driving behind them. She assured him she was an expert on horses because she rode them as a child and into her teens. Every time they were driving behind a horse trailer, my dad would whistle to the horses and Mom would double down by saying,
"Look, Kevin, its ears just twitched. That means it heard you."
Chef Kevin. When my mother was pregnant, she had friends visiting one day, and my dad wanted to make snacks for all of them. He didn't need help. He wanted Mom to sit back and be able to entertain her guests while he made blubbery muffins. Just from a premix, not hard at all. He went into the living room not long after with the mixing bowl and said, "I'm just about to put the batter in the tins to back, but I just need to check if this is the right consistency."
"It is. Why is your hand in the batter?"
"Because the directions said to mix by hand." At least he washed his hands first. Remember when I said my dad crashed every vehicle he's owned? While in Germany, my dad forced my mom to see a couples counselor because she was being possessive and controlling when it came to their kids. The counselor told my mother that she needed to learn to co-parent with her husband and trust that he has the ability to care for us. After all, we were his children too. So she relented and let my dad take my older brother on a bike ride. Just a pedal bike with a kid seat on the back. No need for helmets because it's just a safe, easy bike ride. Bike crashed. Toddler with stitches and bruises. And mom never went back to that counselor. It's not his vehicles he crashes. We were visiting the friends who we met in Germany. They lived in the country and had acres of land with snowmobile trails in the winter. Mother, having a bout of amnesia, I guess, watched as he took older brother on our friend's snowmobile. Dad was going too fast when he hit a bump, fell off, and watched a wild snowmobile take off with my brother, 6 or 7, still on and too afraid to let go. It stopped when it hit a snowbank. Last story for this session is, Dad is attacked by another wild animal. We were up at a lake with the same family mentioned before. Midsummer, some big barbecue thing going on. Music, swimming, fun times all around. My dad found and picked up a garter snake. That's right, North America, a garter snake. The cute, little, harmless snake that is no threat to you, and you leave it alone because it eats bugs and mice. This little guy did not want to be handled, and the conversation followed as so.
Kevin, put the snake down.
It's fine, look at it.
No, it's not fine. The snake looks mad. It's gonna bite you.
Garter snakes don't bite.
It's a snake. Snakes bite. It's gonna bite you. Put it down.
You don't know what you're talking about. Garter snakes don't bite. Guess what the garter snake did? While I wasn't paying attention to my dad or the conversation at this time, I did witness my dad throw a snake in the lake and asked Mommy,
"Why did Daddy throw a snake in the lake?"
After Mommy told me what Daddy did, I remember 5-year-old me thinking it wasn't fair to the poor snake who just wanted to be left alone. And that is enough for tonight. Hope everyone likes this round of stories. There are more stories to tell, but I am tired. One more thing. Hello, Captain Zach? I feel honored that you read the first stories on your YouTube channel. Please feel free to read these, but with a Canadian accent, eh? Ooh, wow. Okay, well, I did attempt a Canadian accent with your dad. Wow. Thank you so much for adding that last bit. That made my freaking day. My freaking week. My whole gosh darn month. I am happy to read your stories. These are freaking hilarious. You are a really good writer, and thank you again. Also, your dad's charmingly dummy-headed. This story's called My Actual Childhood Kevin. This is my first actual Reddit post. Been a lurker for some time, but I really wanted to share this. So feel free to flame me. Wow, I love alliteration. That was good. So feel free to flame me about formatting errors and such. Oh my god, there was 4! Also obligatory, English is not my first language, etc. No teal deer because it's mostly a list of stuff. Oh, side note from the captain here. I have a lot of energy in case you can't tell. I don't know why. I didn't drink Coke. I just had a smoothie, so chill. It's not my fault. There's no caffeine here. Back when I was just a little boy, just shy around the age of 5 or so, there was a Kevin in my neighborhood. He was almost twice my age, 13 or 14 or so. He was around for just a short time, after which he moved away for some reason. So I don't have many things, but I followed him around my neighborhood for just a few afternoons. It's been a while, so I only remember a few things, but boy, do I remember them clearly. He used to pick up cigarette butts and smoke them. Only the filter was left on most of those. He claimed that was the best part. When I told him that smoking is bad for you, he claimed that he is immune because his lung is black. He once stole a bottle of deodorant from a nearby convenience store, sat himself inside a bush, and proceeded to do the thing one does when he has a bottle of deodorant in one hand and a lighter in the other. Oh boy. He frequently stole lighters from the nearby convenience store. I have no idea how he never got caught, but apparently he was good at stealing. We both had a PS1 baller. He wanted to come over to play some games as his PlayStation was broken and wouldn't let him play his games. He brought over a few discs of violent games, and almost all of the discs were completely scratched. After about an hour of trying to get them to work by repeatedly trying to start the console, he had the the bright idea to put the discs into the freezer, as that would somehow fix the issue. See, you laugh at that, but we used to do some really freaking desperate crap to fix a disc, okay? Like the whole toothpaste thing, there were so many different solutions that we tried. None of them ever worked, but we always tried. I went over to his flat once. His mother was morbidly obese and a chain smoker. Didn't care at all what Kevin did or that he brought someone over. The flat was also completely trashed, with trash everywhere. We tried to play some games on his console, but I got away as soon as I could, since I didn't like it there that much. Yay, 5-year-old me! There was a bush of rowan berries, thanks Google Translator, in our neighborhood, and he claimed those were tomatoes. He proceeded to eat them. I looked it up. Those are edible, and they're actually pretty good for you. I only ever saw him in one set of clothes, and he reeked, and I don't think he ever changed his clothes. There was a small hill in our neighborhood. The slope led directly into a wall. Kevin crashed his bike into that wall, trying to achieve the highest possible speed on his bike. He also crashed my bike into that wall later. There was a tree in our neighborhood that was perfect for climbing. Kevin had the bright idea to try to climb to the top. He was not exactly small, so he broke his arm trying to climb it in the rain. Oh boy. My parents told me to be home by 7. He claimed it couldn't be 7 p.m. as you could still see the sun. It was midsummer and the sun didn't fully set until 10 or 11 p.m. What did we do during that time? Well, I followed him around as he scavenged for cigarette butts. I found a lawn torch once, one of those mostly made of wax. Well, he claimed he found it. Pretty sure he found it in someone's garden. He sat inside a bush and tried to light it. He tried to smoke lollipop sticks, those cheap plastic ones, repeatedly. He set garbage bins on fire because he thought you could throw burning things into the garbage bin without any problems, as the fire is thrown away now. People were talking about a possible arsonist in the area. The garbage bins sported new stickers labeled, "Please don't throw embers into the bins." Of course, live fire isn't embers, so that didn't stop Kevin. I am now 23 at the time of writing this, so many things might have been forgotten to time. Maybe, if I remember more, I'll update this, but I spent the last few months remembering and saving everything there is to remember, and as you can see, the list is kind of small. Well, I like to say that, this is one of those unfortunate cases of Kevin-ness, as the Kevin-ness is, it looks like the result of neglect on the part of his mother. Like, he basically outlined the stereotypical sort of living situation for a kid. They don't, their hygiene isn't prioritized, the house's hygiene isn't a priority, the mother's hygiene isn't a priority, the freaking health of the mother, I guess? I don't know. So, yeah. We're not gonna make fun of this guy. Let's just hope he's doing better now. Let's hope his situation improved. This story's called Kevin Went on an Overnight Hike with No Food or Water and Got Lost for 3 days. At university, I met a guy who was a Kevin. He was one of those thinks he's so cool types who insults everyone and thinks he's funny. We were in the same lab, and although it was an individual project, I ended up working with him a lot because the time passed faster when he was around. We had to spend 30 plus hours of lab time outside of class working on our projects throughout the semester. So Kevin one day tells me the story of how he got lost and how when he got home, the police were waiting for him. He decided to go on a hike with a friend on an illegal trail. Not the Kevin moment. The trail was illegal because someone died on it and the parents freaked out and fought until the popular trail was deemed illegal. They brought hammocks so they could spend the night on the mountain and 1 water bottle. Not each, just 1. And 1 granola bar. Not each, just 1. They didn't tell a single person their plan or where they would be. They spend the night, watch the sunrise, and have a blast. Kinda hungry though. Well, they look down the mountain and decide to hike down the back way rather than on the trail they came up on. Why? I never quite figured that out. There is no back way. They just took off into the jungle. They hiked all day, and as the sunset came, they got worried. They hiked as late as they could, using phone flashlights. No service, they weren't that Kevin, although I wasn't there, so who knows. After becoming exhausted, they set up hammocks and spent a second night in the jungle. The next day, they kept hiking, trying to find a city. They found a river and decided to follow it since it must lead to a beach somewhere. They also drank from it, which is usually a really bad idea, but I understand why they did it. The foliage got so bad, they started to walk literally in knee-deep water downstream because the banks were too thick to walk on. Yeah, like my women. That's a joke. I can't pull. The sun set again, and the other boy told Kevin he wasn't sure he could survive another night, especially wet and cold. They kept going. Phones now dead through that night and into the next morning. The next day, they hiked down to a popular waterfall attached to a reserve and historic park where a lifeguard yelled at them, telling them they weren't allowed up there and they had to come down. So they came down. Did they tell the lifeguard what happened? Oh no. Nope, they just said sorry and hiked down. Then they worked their way through the park to the entrance and up to the main road. That's where they started to figure out how to get home. No money and no phones, and about a 45-minute drive from home, and an hour-and-a-half drive from the hike they started on 3 days prior. They didn't tell anyone they'd been missing or ask for help. They just asked people for spare change until they got enough for a bus fare, then rode the bus back home. They were surprised to find police cars waiting for them. Their parents had been flown in once they heard their children were missing, and no one knew where they had gone. Kevin's dad actually came alone and didn't tell Kevin's mother why he was flying to see his son randomly to spare her the stress of him being missing. They were taken to a hospital where they were checked out. They had issues from starvation and drinking the river water, but were fine. Speaking of fine, they were charged a hefty fine for the use of helicopters used to search for them and the manpower of the police investigation. But the good news was Kevin finally got to meet his new roommate who had moved in while he was gone and had no idea what was going on while being questioned by the police about his missing roommate. I'm not gonna say he was proud of his story, but he wasn't ashamed of it. It was kind of like a rite of passage that he'd survived in the wilderness. That's so freaking funny. They went the back way, but there was no freaking back way. Oh my god, that's so freaking stupid. I just love imagining how nonchalant these kids are. Holy, just casually wading through a river. And they find other people and they're just like, okay, sorry, you have any spare change? Come on. This story's called Kavina the Nanny Gets Locked Out. When we hired Kavina the Nanny, previously featured here and here, we of course gave her a key to the front door. But she ended up going through our garage pretty much all of the time, because we had a convenient keyless entry pad, and that was where we kept our stroller, and we had a bench for shoes there. One day, she called in a panic, saying the garage door was broken and she couldn't get in. Thankfully, I was working from home, so I just went over to the front door and let her in. Now, the power to the garage door opener can be shut off by a wall switch. To ensure nobody flips the switch off by accident, I had put a cover over it. So I went to the garage and sure enough, the cover was missing and the switch was off. I flipped it on and asked her about it, and she suddenly remembered that she bumped the cover off by accident and didn't think it was important. Then I asked if she could check her keyring, because I wanted to make sure she could use the front door in the future.
Okay,
she said,
but I'm sure I don't have a front door key. I remember. See, this is my own apartment key, my car key, my mailbox key, and I have no idea what this other one is.
That looks like our front door key. Let's try it. Of course, it was.
Aw, it's so cute.
I mean, but obviously ditziness should be concerning at some point. That's cute. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.